So again, I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my internet today. We're lagging like crazy. All right. So this is, and I just had the video up. I'm not going to try, or had the screen up. I'm not going to try to pull it back up again, but I'll tell you about it. So I was incarcerated with a man named Bill Rosica. When I first met Bill in the yard, he'd always sit. He was an older man. He'd always sit by himself in the corner, not really mind his own business. I remember he was always upset. Seemed like he was crying pretty easily, but just seemed generally down. And nobody really knew what his charges were. Then as time went on, I realized he was a cop, and started getting information about what his situation was. And I usually just stayed to myself. I was there to do my time and get out. But he was there waiting for a federal sentencing. And come to find out, he'd been involved in a stalking situation, cyber-stalking situation, as an active law enforcement officer from his patrol car. And so I will share with you some details about that. So here's the case. It was a federal case against him in Rochester, New York. Bill Rosica, he was 51 at the time, so that means he was about a year younger than I am right now, but he looked way older. Not to say I look young, but he was eventually sentenced to 60 months in prison, 3 years supervised post-release. Now his charges at one point were 10 years or so. So he swung quite a deal. But between February 2016 and March 2017, he was a Irondequoit police officer, which is north of Rochester, and actually in the area where a lot of high crime is as you start getting closer to the city, the actual part of Rochester. But Irondequoit runs right through where a lot of the troubles are. He subjected a victim to a relentless campaign directed towards threatening and psychological torturing the victim and injuring, harassing, and intimidating her. Now, this is what's interesting about him, is it wasn't just him. It was an alias that he'd come up with, and her name was Katie something or other. So he was doing this not as Bill Rosica. He was doing it as this Katie person. And the other article, I wish I hadn't shut down. If my internet wasn't giving me a hard time, I'd probably look it back up.